all the former governors are with him. He goes to them, goes to their houses, cuts them, and brings them to functions. So all the former deputy governors that are alive, I mean, all the former governors that are alive, are always there at, irrespective of party. You know? But I think it's just a peculiar, it's peculiar. So I think going back to what we've discussed so many things now. I think I'll just give us a summary of what we've talked because we need to present that summary of it. So if we still need to add or subtract, you are taking notes. He was taking notes, and then you are supposed to be taking notes. Yeah. Some. Mm. Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah. And now, when do you punish? After he leaves the office? While he's in office? That's immunity now. Okay, sorry. Somebody, an observer there.
Accepted. Sir, you will agree with me that the major problem of hold-up within Masaka to Nyanya is bad road. You will agree with me that the hold-up from Masaka to Nyanya is bad road. And we know that it's federal government road. And we know that the state can also intervene in federal government road while the federal government will rebound you back. Sir, please, sir, can you help as deputy governor take this matter back to governor that the people within Maraba Nyanya, if you people can just intervene on those potholes to reduce the holdup, that would be very, very fantastic. I learned that all the projects have been completed. Thank you, sir.
Yes, you rightly put it. It's a federal government road. Yes, in those days, Buhari's time and stuff, earlier part of Buhari's regime, you could take a federal government project, complete them, and go and collect your money. But now it's not the same. If you take a federal government job now, you do it, nobody is giving back your money. That's number one. Number two, I can tell you that I personally have been to FEMA more than 3 times on that road. And 2, 3 times you see them coming to do some work there, but you don't see them again. We'll continue to pressurize them. We'll continue to talk to them so that we'll see how we can, because we realize that indeed, not only the potholes, even those selling by the roadsides and all those dirt, the way they just manage or mismanage refuses around there. And that is why we have the GM of our waste management of the state, incidentally from Karu. So in our primaries that we've just done now, we have now put him as the candidate to be chairman of Karu local government. So hope that he will now use his experience to take care of Karu. Yeah. So, summary.
In a summary,
I will.
I believe we'll begin to wind down
I
now.
will-
5 minutes to go. 5 minutes.
I will take permission and get another person to chair this because I must run away because by the time it's 3:34 and I hit that hold up, in Nyanya hold up, I'll be in trouble. So, Your Excellency.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So I wish that I have our names and phone numbers so that it's God that has brought us together today. That's God. That's God. Okay. No. What I'm talking about is, can we get a piece of paper? We are sending.
the name.
Major knows my name. And Vince here.
He's our ambassador.
We were school together.
That's wonderful.
He's our ambassador. He's not just a doctor, a special doctor. If your eyes is failing, you still treating patients.
No, ophthalmologist.
They are different,
Not optometrist.
they are different jobbers and professionals. They are professional in politics. I'll send them to you.
All the best. Thank you
All
very
right,
much.
Your Excellency, thanks so much.
Thank you, sir.
Johnny Mrs. Johnny Mrs.
Let's have a shot together.
Group 1 has rounded up. They're already taking photographs, and I hope they will take it very quietly. We have a minute to go. We have a minute to go. Let's begin to round up now. Please, some groups are still working. Let's reduce the noise. Some groups are still working. Please, we will quickly set up some seats on the stage. 4 seats. 4 seats. All the chairmen of each of the groups. We have an engagement ring here. Somebody left it. Take it. There's an engagement ring here in case you are the owner, so that they don't cancel this engagement. Are you the owner? It's your ring and you are not looking for it. Give me the number of the young man that gave it to you. I'll shoot this mic in your mouth. So group 1, group 2 have wrapped up. I'm very sure group 3 are putting finishing touches. And immediately after, the chairman of each of the groups will be on the podium alongside the convener to give us just a few minutes presentation from each group as part of our plenary. So let's settle down now. Let's settle down. Let's settle down, please. Let's settle down, please. Where's that paper? Yes. No, the other one that had the breakdown of the groups. The chairman of Group 2 is already going to the stage. Her Excellency Professor Ngozi Odu taking her seat. His Excellency Emmanuel Akabe, please join us up here to present to us the major highlights of what your group discussed. So who will be representing you? Who? Okay, who? Who? Who are we talking about now? Oh. Group 3, His Excellency James Magaji will be joining us up here. Yeah, yes. His Excellency Mr. Patrick Ekpotu, please join us up here. And then to make up this panel to direct affairs is the convener and chairman of the forum. We'd like to welcome here His Excellency Chris Akoma. I know you are looking tired. Please, if the DG calls you after this event, give him query. Thank you. All right. Okay. No, 3. Yes, 3. No, Chai is moderated. So, Chairman, you're the chairman of the, so you call each group, you handle it as you wish. Now, do you need mics here, or do you want to go to the podium? We need 2 more mics. Yeah, okay, yes, okay. Okay.
Thank you, and thank you again. First, I want to thank all of us for participating effectively. I was watching and I observed the keen interest from everybody in proffering solutions to our problems. So now that we have the chairman of the groups, the syndicate groups, we'll listen to them and hear what solutions we have proffered from various groups. This will make up our recommendations some more. So let's start with Group 1. Okay, I've just been told by an engineer, you know, engineers, accountants, statisticians, mathematicians are very good. Okay, because numbers, good, because you were trying to tell me I should start counting from 2. So, please, Your Excellency Engineer Patrick Ebotu will be presenting that of Group 1. The time is now. Thank you, sir.
Hello. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. National President. The responsibility of Group 1 was to look at the issue of project abandonment throughout the country and to prefer measures of ensuring that that is completely eliminated or overcome in our political system. We started by looking at why projects are abandoned in the first place. Differing opinions were heard, and we saw possibilities of some projects coming as a result of political concerns and not projects that really touch on the needs of the people. Predecessors
Just
to the governors that the leadership that initiated it.
Just a moment, sir.
Okay.
The topic of the first paper was yes, because project okay, so that is yes, incumbent and predecessors.
Yes, incumbent
completing project and sharing ideas.
Yes.
Okay, good. So that we understand clearly where you are coming from.
Yes. Okay, so we then looked at why do incumbents and the predecessors differ, and why are projects that are inherited by the incumbent not implemented. And from there, we now look at the possibilities of sharing ideas and all of that. So we found out, number one, that projects are abandoned based on political party differences. Incumbent also abandons projects of predecessors, perhaps again because the particular project was not rooted on the needs of the people, but was a political expedient needed to win the next election. And so when the incumbent finds out that this project was not really necessary to the people, he refuses to complete the project. And then we also find that some contracts are political to mobilize funds for personal gains and political colleagues. And our projects are also inflated and contract sums completely raised. And when the incumbent realizes this, he also abandons the project. Very few instances were looked at. In Nasarawa State today, I am acting for the deputy governor of the current sitting deputy governor of Nasarawa State. He's the one that was the chairman of this group. And from what he narrated, his government, that is the president's government, has been able to complete all the projects that were abandoned in the state, even those projects that came, not in this dispensation of democracy, that they have completely taken care of all of them. The same cannot be true of every other state. There are states where 5-star hotels are being located in the governor's village, funded with the public fund, because he needed to give a project to his people. And then by the time the incumbent, another person wins the election because the predecessor did not complete it, he finds that such a project was not necessary. So we also looked at a multi-billion project that was cited by a particular state running into close to 80 billion naira, but was not based on planning. It ignored the town planning regulations and so cited the project and blocked the major drainage way that evacuates water from the capital city. And the entire place, nobody can stay whenever it rains. So the previous government, the incumbents, refused to complete such a project. So we looked at most of these and then came up with the recommendations. First, if it is possible that projects could be cited that are not based on necessity, if it is possible that projects could be cited that are influenced by political considerations, and if it is a possibility that projects could be cited that are based on purely economic considerations, then all of these must influence the thought of what the recommendations must be. Because in the first place, we agreed that the personal attitude of a leader is also crucial in making this a possibility. If somebody images a leader, a governor, and believes that it is better to implement and cite a project that are not necessarily important to the state and important to the people, then of course you will not expect your predecessor to complete the project when it comes to realize that this project was not necessary. There is a case of, and this thing happens at the state and federal level. When I was a deputy governor, I remember one project, the federal government project in Rivers State. And that project was, it had to do with a road linking Rivers mainland, linking Bonny with Rivers mainland. As at that time, the project was about 100 billion. But the federal government would make provisions for this project, provision of 1 billion in its budget every year. 1 billion, which means it will take 100 years to complete that project. So we had to take most of this kind of structuring into consideration and now came up with recommendations that legislations will be necessary, laws will have to be made, that compels any incumbent administration to complete the project that he takes over from his predecessors. The issue of legislation in Nigeria is known to everybody. Legislations are easily made, but implementation and enforcement has always been a very serious problem. And unless somebody is punished, unless a legislation is enforced, not just the judicial pronouncement, if it is not backed up with serious enforcement, then it certainly will not serve the purpose. And so the issue of legislation is one crucial issue that what we suggested, and it must be backed up with the capacity to enforce whatever legislations will have to be made. But that will require constitutional changes. Then we also suggested that, yes, the issue of enforcement, that is the punishment, must be attached. You see, in the last lecture, we listened to the professor made allusion to a situation somebody, when he was citing a national, a particular federal policy, where somebody could make away with mobilization of 50%, and if he is arrested and taken to court, the punishment for such a grievous offense is just 2 years imprisonment. It makes the entire thing laughable. That a tout who steals a phone from his neighbor in Area 1 would be sentenced to 10 years imprisonment. And then a criminal who rips off the state, collects mobilization of 50% that could run into billions of naira, arrested and taken to court, and he is sentenced to just 2 years imprisonment. I do not see how the two punishments. In this case, we have suggested a very stiff punishment for whoever abandons a project that he inherits from his predecessors. Your Excellencies, the National Chairman, friends, brothers and sisters, I think this is the much that we went on this issue. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you for your presentation for Group 1. And we'll have all the presentations so that if there are a few comments to be made, we'll make them. I think the MC and DG will agree that after this we should get the rapporteurs and the people to focus on preparing the draft communique while we go for lunch and come back to, do the needful. So, my sister Excellency, you are a professor. I think I will say let us try to keep our presentations within 5 minutes so that we can move forward. Over to you, Group 2.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, our brother, the coordinator of this wonderful conference. Good evening or good afternoon to all of us. I will tell us the topic. It was paper 4 for our group, ensuring food security, taming the challenges and exploring innovative approaches to agriculture. So what we did, we had general discussions and came up with some recommendations. I will just mention some of the key recommendations. One is that we should depoliticize agriculture in Nigeria. The reason is that when food items don't get to the real farmers, but rather gets to the political farmers, the positive impact. Then we looked at, in no particular order, we looked at the issue of introduction of high technology. They say if you keep doing the same thing the same way and you expect a different result, then the person is crazy. So we must learn to do things a little bit differently. So when I think we should improve on the agricultural technology that we apply, both in terms of equipment, in terms of seeds and seedlings. We should try to utilize high-yield seeds and seedlings. Another one is that we need to create agricultural hubs where you intentionally say, this area, for example, Benue, oh, you produce this, Kaduna area, there should be agricultural hubs intentionally created. And in addition, those hubs, there must be security. Security must be provided. Otherwise, they would not maximally do their work or production. So the hubs. Then there is the need for youth entrepreneurship. Like before now, we had agri extension workers, agri demonstration farms. We can rewind the wheel and see how we can adopt these things again to the positive impact for all of us in the agri sector. Then there is a need for river basin to be expanded and probably do a PPP arrangement. The reason being that government may not have the total capacity to draw it on its own, but if it's a PPP, you're getting people from the industry that are really specialized in that area making their inputs. There is also the need for government to subsidize agriculture. When we have farmers, it should be intentional thing that the government does to support them to boost their production and to encourage them. Because like they say, overseas, farmers are rich people. We want Nigerians to be rich farmers. So there's a need for government to subsidize agriculture. Then the Bank of Agriculture. We have the Bank of Agriculture. It's almost moribund. There's a need for revamping and reactivating it, for it to do those functions for which it was established. We talked about the need for linkages to link up agric-related research centers and institutions to the real agric people. Because overseas, people spend money to do research so they can translate it into something that is real. So we should begin to think in that direction. Then media. We can't do anything without the media. Media needs to have special packages, advocacies at all levels, starting from the top down to the villages, so that villagers buy the idea. It becomes their idea and they won't let it fall. There's also a suggestion that deputy governors should have oversight function. I put that in my own language, over the agric, like even in the communities, supervise the drawing up of the list to make sure that the people that are there are the real people that should benefit from it. I think those are the major things we had agreed on, but security is crucial. And then there was something under security as well, that not just the security, for example, the security agents cannot be everywhere. So the communities should also generate their own vigilante group so that they have their own complemented by the one the government will put. When we do that, we'll be ensure the security of individuals' lives and properties and security of our foodstuff. These are the items we recommended. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, my sister. Thank you for professing the suggestions of the Group 2. It's now Group 3. Excellency James Magaji, it's your turn to tell us what Group 3. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I chaired the syndicate group of Group 3. Thank you, Chairman. Our topic is project sustainability and completion as a panacea for effective development. We brainstorm among so many things, and we agreed that without adequate planning, one is assumed to be planning to fail. the abandonment of projects has become a huge negative mark in our quest for development. We found out causes for abandonment to be as follows: lack of feasibility planning, lack of adequate planning. I remember I mentioned it even to the group that for those of us that are Christians, we have a caption in the Bible whereby it's saying that who among you will start building a house without counting the cost? That means without planning, you may get to a position where you cannot continue, and then passers-by will mock and laugh at you when they pass. So planning is very important, but we do not pay adequate attention to it. Secondly, we talked of corruption in the procurement process, just as the lead paper presenter stated, that during the procurement process, through the bidding process, there are rules, actually, not that there are none, and we know that the Bureau of Public Enterprises, yeah? Well, usually there are ways by which these are circumvented, and contracts are awarded to preferred, sometimes even non-bidders. So this also contributes in project abandonment, because contracts could be given to people that are not qualified to execute them. That's why we have so many scenarios in the construction industry, in the field, where a particular contract will start from one contractor and end at the third contractor because they keep assigning them. Assigning and reassigning. Assigning and reassigning means they keep selling the contracts. So the person that might end up doing that job might not have been a competent contractor. So at the end of the day, the project is abandoned. And then we found out that weak enforcement of rules. There are rules in every contract condition. You will find out that there are rules, there are penalties stipulated for non-completion of projects. But then, like somebody said when he was speaking, the punishments are not severe enough. So people are comfortable with taking big money as down payment or advance payment, and then prefer to go and spend 6 months or whatever little time it is, and then go back and enjoy their booty. Then we talked of laws, lack of continuity by successive governments, and then incompetence of contractors. These days, people bid for even jobs they cannot do. Whereas, even in the construction industry, the industry has classification of projects. There are open projects that we call, people bid for under open tendering, which are advertised in the newspaper. Everybody can come and bid. Such projects are small-scale projects. And then complicated projects usually are done by selective tendering, whereby big contractors with capacity already known are selected to do such projects. But sometimes we find out that all these are abandoned and jobs are given for favoritism to contractors that lack competence. So these were some of the 5 reasons we found out as causes of abandonment. And then we made recommendations here. Number 1, reenactment of long-term development planning backed by adequate legislation, whereby federal or state governments can draw up 5-10-year development plans and then back it by relevant legislation, such that even if successive governments come, they have to continue with them. Because projects that are started and abandoned are like money taken and just thrown into the drain. Start a job, you cannot finish it, you leave it halfway for many years, that money was just like thrown away. Enforcement of existing rules governing procurement of contract execution. Then zero-based budgeting as a way out. I remember about 4 years ago, there was this, it was a very big discourse. It was a national discourse about TSA, Treasury Single Account, and zero-based budgeting, you know? But we just talked about it, glossed over it, and never took it seriously. Whereas one of the greatest ways by which you can curb project abandonment is by zero-based budgeting. Zero-based budgeting is whereby you take the totality of the project and break it into achievable objectives. You break it into achievable objectives, probably a project that will be 5 years, 50 billion naira job, maybe 3 years job. You break it into what you can achieve per yearly. So that the money you bring out in that year, you know you are able to complete a certain portion of it. By doing that, money is invested, some aspect of the job is completed, you can even put to use. And where you stop that project that year, the following year also you budget to continue from there. And then the third year you do the same. So within 3 years, you are able to be finishing these jobs without even fluctuation. Because these projects should not, usually in zero-based budgeting, should not exceed 1 year. So you budget for 1 year, provisions are made within that year, so there is no fear that the project crosses into the next year and affected by inflation or something like that. So zero-based budgeting is a very key area by which we can start and complete projects without abandonment. Then enactment of laws of federal and state levels that compel successive governments to complete subsisting projects, such that when a new regime comes, they have to complete what they made on ground before starting their own new projects. Lagos was made a case in point, and also somebody mentioned Kano, that when Governor Ganduje took over, he completed all projects he inherited that were abandoned. So this was the summary of what we came out with from Syndicate Group 3. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Excellency. We've heard from all the groups, the 3 syndicate groups. So we'll take just a few comments, if any. But before we go into that, it does appear that Group 1 and Group 3 focused really on abandonment. But if you listened to the paper presenters, Group 1, the paper 3 was to highlight the difficulties and the practice that seem to have become routine and normal for people that take over to completely abandon what was on and start something new. In the words that we tend to focus on, my own legacy. Everybody wants a legacy. But I am aware, like I mentioned Akwa Ibom yesterday, and the professor mentioned Lagos, there are a few states, and again, Kano, where the successors of their predecessors have gone ahead to do what should be done, continued the projects because it was for the general good of the people. I keep making using Akwa Ibom because the state planned, there is a development long plan on how the state will go, what will happen, what should happen, where it should happen, including human resource development. Because all these things we are talking about, infrastructure and, you know, other economic developments, we seem to forget that even when you have that, it has to be driven by the human resources. And if they are not there to manage what you have, it's a waste of time. In Akwa Ibom, Akpabio started the hotel in Ikotekbene where everybody goes for, you know, retreat and all that now. But it was completed and made effective by his successor, Emmanuel Odom. It's not in his local government. I don't think it's even in his senatorial district. It is not. Even when there were issues with the franchise, they had to go through the legal battles to solve that because it is money belonging to the state. Ibom Le Meridian Resort, which is now called Ibom Resort and this thing, Golf Club, was conceived, started by His Excellency Obong Victata. He made it, the place started operating before he left. Akpabio continued to improve on it. When Akpabio left, the success also continued to improve on it. They have not allowed because they see it. It belongs to the state. It belongs to the people. And you go to Lagos, you see such happening. The question here is, what should we do to make sure state governors and governments don't come in as the administration changes, they forget everything, not considering that that money spent belongs to the state. In my own state, we have Enyimba hotels built to the, painted and up, just this thing. It has been there. It was there before we came on board. It is still there. Nothing. What happened, at the time it was handed over to the Aba Chambers of Commerce. Then we got into entanglement of legal entanglements and all that. What should we do to ensure that it will not, the development in the states and the progress of infrastructure, economic development is not based on individual pronouncements and decisions? Because that is the problem we have. Like Prof said, a governor goes to a place and the people receive the person well. Something that is not in the budget, they will ask for it. The pronouncement and announcement will not be that we have taken note of it, we will try and put it in the next budget. The announcement will be, we will start it. In fact, the contract is coming next week. And it's not budgeted for. It may not have been planned for, though it may be necessary, though it may be expedient. What type of financial discipline is that? So that was why in our suggestions, which I mentioned yesterday, we recommended to the National Assembly Constitution Amendment Committee that there is need for either a committee, a commission or a council in each state where people will sit down, plan and plot what and how the state will go, what they need. And over time, just like they've been doing in Akwa Ibom, they come together again and look at it. Where are the areas? And are we suggesting state infrastructural and economic development committee or commission or council? Questions for us. Talking about procurement process and procedures and the issue of consequences. The issue of 15% mobilization, 50% mobilization. Why was 15% changed? Prof, 15% was changed because people believed that when you mobilize with 15%, always it's not even enough for the contractor to move equipment or the equipment necessary to site. And so it was easy for them to say, the money you gave us, we have moved so, and the money is finished. Then you come and start all over again. So the suggestion to give 50% was to ensure that people do their work. So, but the issue is, are people that are being given these jobs capable? Do they have the capacity? And then the issue of consequence. Well, you have recommended that, strong punitive measures. Because the truth is, even our personal transactions, the electrician, the plumber, the people that work for you to get your things done, they will ask for the money. In most cases, complete money. What you will pay them last will be their workmanship. So if you don't do that, nothing happens. So how do we manage that to ensure that it is tied to performance? And if nothing happens, the punitive this thing comes, So I think, again, there should be rules on issues of variations, because that's something that really, you give somebody a job, instead of doing the job, they'll be dilly-dallying, and when they hear that fuel price has increased, they will come with, or diesel price increase, they will come with huge variation. That is even affecting things when you talk about providing feeder roads and all that by the local governments. So the deputy governors are the deputy chairmen of state executive councils and state security council. But it may appear that they are not being captured well. It all depends on the principal and the working relationship, the level of trust. I know some of us here who are really signing and approving big things, and they worked well for their states because they had that relationship with their governors who trusted their actions and the distance. But I know some of us that God saved because they refused to sign, even when they were asked to sign. So by way of saying the need to clarify rules and all that. So in these syndicate groups and papers, these are the things. And for this area of last paper 3, we are looking at project implementation and completion. Why some people go halfway, not necessarily the abandonment. What do we need to ensure that what is given is? You refer to the same thing that Group 1 pointed out. You have a project, you do a project and say it's 100 billion. Then every year you put 1 billion. Next year that you are going to put another 1 billion, there will be variation of 3 billion. And it continues that way. So that's something that we have to find solution to. So having said all that, Group 2 talked about Bank of Agriculture. There are other institutions within the agricultural sector that should also be strengthening the institutions to actually perform will help the system to run. I think that's just, for me, the summary of what we have done. If there's any comment, we'll take one or two. Sharp comment.
Mr. Chairman, sorry, let me just make one clarification on something. Unfortunately, sometimes we interchange variation and fluctuation. Variation is never automatic in a contract. I'm a quantity surveyor. Variation is always only approved by the client. There is no contractor that has power to just go and execute variation, except the client has approved. But fluctuation is the one that they come after and say prices have gone up. But again, this is again coming back to what we are saying about failure to implement the contractual rules. Actually, the rule is supposed to be that if you give down payment, you should not entertain fluctuation, especially of materials, because down payments are usually meant for contractors to procure proprietary materials. Proprietary materials are those products that will fluctuate, maybe roofs, windows, and whatever. Thank you.
Thank you for educating us on that. We have taken note of it, but we are talking of what is happening and the practical situation we are facing, which we want to find solution to. So we will be needing more of this expertise and education to enable us move forward. Please make it sharp, very sharp.
Please. Something we left out.
We are not hearing what you
in agreement. Yes, and the suggestion is depending on rain season fed farming. If we want food security and sustainability, Nigeria should just jettison fed farming. Rain season fed farming means prices will fluctuate. But if we adopt irrigation system, test out the rain season fed farming through massive irrigation for small scale irrigation, it's something I saw in Sudan, Togo here. They depend on irrigation system.
Thank you very much. Get the microphone. Thank you. I don't intend to continue, please. After that, that will be the last. And please make it sharp.
Good morning or good afternoon. My name is Dr. Onduka from Cosmopolitan University, Abuja. I don't know if you all have heard, the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs has been scrapped. Ministry of Niger Delta is now Ministry of Regional Development.
That is not before us here, and that's not what we are
what
discussing.
What I'm trying to say is on the development initiatives for Nigeria, there are so many things we have to look at. Like the gentleman said, when it comes to...
Thank you for the information.
Let me finish, sir.
You are taking us outside while we are here. Thank you very much. This is a pronouncement just made by President today, and you are taking us there. Where is the microphone? Get it, please. Thank you for your interest and your comment. I think at this point, like I said, we appreciate everybody, every contribution, and it's time for us to look. DG, the communique committee, the team, they've had what the recommendations are. So I'm collecting it from all these wonderful group chairmen directly, and those that they can give you. Okay, please, you give it to them. And you know what? We are also asking, stretching you a little further. You will all be part of that, making that draft what it should be, so that we can present something solid and effective.
Please, let's put our hands together for the chairman and convener of the forum. Let's also appreciate the panelists. Please, let's put our hands together. Thank you very much. Photographer, you have to be fast. Lunch is beckoning. While that is going on, we will take some minutes to have lunch. When we come back, sure by then the communique will be ready.
I can hear some grumblings in the background. Please, we appeal, if we can all come back after lunch for the communique, it will be beautiful. But if you don't, if you can't, and we have only 10 people here, we'll read it to them. But if you all registered, it will be emailed to you. But please, let's make sure we come back here.